Remember on October the 2nd, which was our first day of the show, we talked a little bit about the difference between a regular toad and a lizard, which some people call a horny toad. Well, I brought you some samples today just so you can see what I was talking about. Now, in Utah, we have two kinds of horned lizards which are native to the state. This is a baby one, and I'm going to put it over here on the close-up camera so you can really get a good look at it. And we left a pen on here so it would stay in focus. Now, this is the most common kind of horned lizard that you'll find in the desert. It's called a Phrynosoma platyrhinos is its scientific name. The Phrynosoma is the genus name and platyrhinos is the species name. Notice it has a kind of scaly skin. If we do a little close-up here, you can look and see that in fact it does have horns on its head. See that? And on its back it has scratchy little projections or scales, which you can call spines if you like. It has very distinct fingers. Now its tail is red because I do some monitoring of these animals as to what they eat as a science project, and I use just simple old food coloring so that I can tell them apart, because they don't change color too much, and a lot of them are the same color. Now, this little guy mostly eats ants, and he's really a cute little fellow. He's not much bigger than my thumbnail, really. I'm going to turn him over also so you can see just what their bellies look like and why they're called toad bellies. Notice the little spots that they have on there and a fat little tummy that they have. Now, this one got bitten by an ant, it looks like, even though they eat ants. If you look right here, there's a little ant head holding on to him. They're pretty much immune from the ant venom, but they still don't like to get bitten just like anybody else. I'm going to leave this guy right here if he'll promise to be good, and take out another variety, which we have. Again, this is the desert horned lizard, which is common to our deserts. If you go up to about 7,000 feet in altitude, you will find the mountain horned lizard or short horned lizard. Now, besides the color difference, that's really not important. You'll notice the markings are different on the back. Both of them seem to have a little bit of a collar pattern right behind the head here, but the mountain or short-horned lizard has almost no horns on its head. See how the platyrhinos has little pointed horns? Well, the mountain horned lizard, or Phrynosoma hernandezi, is devoid of horns. The hernandezi, or mountain horned lizard, doesn't lay eggs. It has live babies, just like a garter snake. Whereas this one, the desert horned lizard, or platyrhinos, lays eggs. Now you can tell these from a toad very easily. A toad obviously doesn't have all these spines on them, and these look like a lizard. You can look at their little fingers. Let me now take out a real toad and show you what they look like. So we're going to cut here for a second while I get the toads ready. Okay. This is not my lunch. In case you were wondering what was in here, this is a carrying case that I use to transport amphibians. Now, we were talking about horny toads a little while ago. These are some real toads, and you will see the difference immediately. I'm going to reach in here and grab one. Now look at the water dripping off this one right here. Can you see that? This is an actual toad. A frog will have much smoother skin. I'm going to give you a close-up of this in a minute. Look at the fat belly on this thing. Compared to a regular lizard, you can see why the horned lizard got the nickname horned toad, because it's also very fat and flat. This particular toad is called a woodhouse toad, and they're quite common around the St. George area. Usually when it rains, you find them out on the road. They're very good animals to have in your garden, as you will see later. I'm going to put it right here in the aquarium so it doesn't get away from us, and let's see if we can get a good close-up of it. All right. Now if you look at this toad while it's in the aquarium, I'm going to zoom up just a little bit. Look how many warts its skin has. Unlike the horned lizard, which had kind of prickly little spikes and scales, the toad scales are smooth, but it has a warty appearance. You can't get warts from a toad. Right behind the eye, you can probably see this big bulge here. This is a gland that the woodhouse and other bufo toads, as these are called, have. It's a parotoid gland. And that's what makes this a bufo as opposed to a spia or some other species of toad. Also, what makes this a woodhouse toad, and there are lots of bufos, the bufo is again the genus, is the white stripe down the back. It's not quite as obvious as I'd like it to be, but there's a stripe right down the back. This particular individual is a female, and the females get rather large. I'm going to take out a male toad or a boy toad, same exact species, so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, if he'll be a good boy and sit right here next to the other one, sometimes they move around a little. Okay, you see the boy right there? He's a little bit smaller, but he has those big glands behind the eyes, a warty skin, and quite a distinguishable white stripe. How can you tell the boys from the girls? Quite easily. If you were to pick the boys up underneath their throat, they have a little sac. This one's kind of black there, and they make noise. The girls never croak. Just the boys make that croaking sound. And it's also another thing the boys have on the bottom of their hands. They have what you call a nuptial pad. Now this is very hard to see because of the focus. Now, you see that big scale right there on the bottom of his hand? That's something that just the boy toads have. This is a great animal to have in your yard. You should never kill a toad. They can't possibly hurt you. They're not at all poisonous. They don't give you warts, as I said before. But they love to eat cockroaches and all kinds of creepy crawly things that they find in your garden. Earwigs, they'll eat caterpillars, cutworms, you know, grasshoppers, crickets, anything that gets into your petunias and other flowers and vegetables. They're really great little animals to have. I don't think they're going to want to watch me reaching in here and grabbing these cockroaches, but that's the best way to get them out. Let's see. Here's what I was talking about earlier. Here are some common old icky cockroaches that you'll find in your yard. And these toads, when they're hungry, they'll eat them up just like popcorn. Now, this toad's technical name is Bufo. That's the genus I told you about. Woodhousei, because they were discovered by a man named Woodhouse. And they will absolutely eat bagfuls of these cockroaches. We'll just have to be patient here and see if, yep, there he goes. You see that one? Disappeared right on camera. Isn't that amazing? Hope we got that. All right. Let me see if I can get the other one to come over closer. Come on over here. Now, if you spray your yard, you might be poisoning the bugs that the toads eat and wipe out your natural source of predation on these icky old cockroaches. Actually, if you have a few toads in your yard, and you can attract them by keeping the yard moist and having some hiding places, they'll do a good job on the cockroaches. And you won't have a cockroach problem. Now, I think they're a little bit nervous being here in the studio. Let's just wait for a shot here and see if we get another one. The trouble with these is they're kind of well fed. I gave them quite a bit to eat. While those two guys are wondering if they're hungry or not, let me take out a third toad. This little toad, which I'm placing into the aquarium right now, is a juvenile. It's a little bit smaller. That means it's a young one. But it's not a pure woodhouse toad. It is part woodhouse and also part red spotted toad. This is a phenomenon in science called hybridization, which occurs between sympatric species, or species living and sharing the same habitat. The red spotted toad really doesn't get much bigger than this juvenile. There are the little males trying to eat the cockroach now. Oh, he got it. So the little toad, you can see the white stripe on its back, like the woodhouse toad. You can also see the parotoid glands behind the eyes, which tell you that it belongs to the Bufo genus. But what you probably don't notice, it's a little bit subtle, is look at the nose. The nose is slightly more pointed, like a triangle. And look at the spots on its back and blotches. The skin is not nearly as warty. I'm going to see if I can zoom in and just forget that cockroach for a minute. But see how the skin is a little bit smoother? The color doesn't have a lot to do with it. It's more the blotches. If this guy's hungry, that cockroach is history. Well, I guess he's too well fed. Let me show you the little toad up close. If I were to look at the sides of the little toad right here, you see how smooth the skin is? And there's some very, very small reddish coloration to it. That's why I think that either its mother or father was a red-spotted toad. It squeaks, so most likely it's a male also. As I said, the females are usually silent.